Welcome to Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. We're back again this week with some Royal Rumble 1998. How we doing, Dale?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on every week. So, as a co-host, I guess we could label it that way. So that's our relationship. We're partners in that aspect.
Hey, this is our podcast, isn't it?
That's right. Yes. So we're partners. So we had, we
I think the clue's in the name, mate. Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. It's obviously.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know what the good thing is? Nowadays, when people look up trans, they think of another thing. But we're not talking about that, guys. We just want to talk strictly about wrestling and, off the cuff bullshit. So Anyway, we went into 1998. I was 13. You were 13 as well at this point.
I was.
So you said, let's do Royal Rumble 1998. We pretty much know some of the outcomes, but it was funny because when you mentioned that, I said, isn't that the one with Vader and Luna and Goldust? I don't know why that stood out in my mind, but it did so for a pretty funny reason. Am I right? Yeah. So have at it. Take it away, Andy.
Well, yeah, we just jump straight in. Obviously, for me, this was the birth of the Attitude Era. I know it's been getting a bit more risque as we were going through 97, but 98 was the year for me. And Austin winning the Rumble set him on to WrestleMania, which then, the McMahon feud, the whole full-on Attitude Era after that fact. So for me, this was the start of the Attitude Era. For me, this was like everything's set. We're off to the race. This was the green light in my eyes.
Yeah, totally. And you're seeing this transition of power as far as who people are listening to in the company. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like an uprising as well, because you would see how that balance kind of shifts, even though somebody's at the top right now, might not be for too long. And actually, we see that boiling point happen tonight. And it's very matter-of-factly and quickly. So, but you don't realize it until you see it. But going right off the bat, we start off with the match, the aforementioned match that I talked about. Luna Vachon was the manager for the artist formerly known as Goldust and Vader. And correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, I don't think we ever talked about any of these individuals on this show prior.
Oh, we haven't. We haven't even gone there. 1998 for some reason. I don't know whether it was just because of, that was our main kind of era. You know what I mean? Obviously, I know we loved the golden era and whatnot, but the Attitude Era was ours because we, the way I always look at it with the Attitude Era is when we had the golden era where Hulk Hogan's say your prayers and all like that. We were little 4 or 5 year olds. We were little kids. And that just, fed into us perfectly. And then, fast forward 10 years and we've got the Attitude Era going into full swing and the puppies and everything else, Stone Colds and Beers, and here's us a couple of randy teenagers. It just worked out perfectly for us, hasn't it, throughout?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Now, when you're marketing in the 80s, you have these bright colors. That's why the Ultimate Warrior was, and Macho Man and Hogan, people love that stuff. And, as children, you'd see that and you kind of have, guided towards that. As a teenager, which I believe everybody has an affinity for and have such a soft spot, because let's face it, when you're looking back, you didn't really have to pay those bills. There were hardships, but the hardship was, nobody wanted to bang you. Or you had good friends and, whatever. And one, just didn't talk to you one day. So that was your madness. But, let's face it, during that time, we had a lot of people like Marilyn Manson dressed in black. You had music like that. I was into them, and Korn, Limp Bizkit, stuff like that. It was probably the number one band for WWE.
No, I think Limp Bizkit was a little bit further on, wasn't it?
Correct. But it was that transition because remember, you have Marilyn Manson who, headbangers dressed up in his t-shirt and definitely didn't do headbanging when you really think about it.
But when you think about it realistically, though, we've had that kind of throughout the whole of wrestling, because don't forget, I think it was WrestleMania 3 when Ozzy Osbourne come out with the Bulldogs, and You know, we had a bit
And
of that,
Alice
didn't we?
Cooper and
Yeah.
Alice Cooper came out with Jake the Snake. So
Hmm.
you always had that rock, but in those, especially those characters too. But as far as soundtrack goes, that was a soundtrack for, they weren't really soundtracks for WWE at the time.
No, they had
Remember,
their own, didn't they? With their old WrestleMania and the old Royal Rumble
yes,
theme tune and whatnot.
exactly. So then you would have a lot more of edgier sounds coming
Mm.
in and guitars, and you had the broken glasses, and that's why we had this affinity for guys like Austin that wore black. You know, and there was a lot of even even DOA was also like this hard rock kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, artist formerly known as Gold Dust, dressed up as all those different colors, and it's sad
Yeah.
because I'm watching this match and the crowd was hot for Vader, weren't
Yeah.
they?
Oh, they were so hot for him. I messaged you last night, didn't I, when I was watching this, and I turned on and said, what he could move for a big guy. What a big guy he was and what he could move, you know. High flyer as well. There was nobody. I mean, you know, there was the only person I could see that was potentially like him was Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were big guys, man, that just knew
Yeah.
how to move. You would see that haymaker from Vader, and it looked like a holiday ham just attached to a fist, and he connected, and that's why, you know, Mick Foley would tell you stories. I think he ripped off Mick's ear, correct, in a match because he caught him in the
Yeah.
ropes.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you think Vader should be in the Hall of Fame?
without a doubt, 150%.
Yeah, I agree.
They at this point, they didn't really know what to do with him because his contract was expiring, and they had him for 3 years at that instance. You know, he was put on the shelf for a little bit, and you know, now here he is. It's like, hey, here's a fan favorite. He was a fan favorite.
Oh, he was.
You know,
He
and
was
here
awesome.
he is.
And the thing is, just in case anybody doesn't know, the whole artist formerly known as Goldust was a rip-off from Prince, because at the time he was going as the artist formerly known as Prince, but obviously Prince didn't wear thongs and whatnot. But you know, I think it was a good. It was a good.
That's
Yeah.
questionable.
Well, from what we could see anyway. But it was good playing them with Luna here, wasn't it? It was a perfect coupling for the whole what they were trying to achieve, and you know, just I thought a bit on Luna. Obviously, Vader wins this one with a Vader bomb with Luna on his back. She was so underrated, wasn't she?
She was wonderful. Just that type of voice that she had was just so funny. You know, it just made you scared.
Yeah.
You know, but she's been in the business for how long? You know, and it sucks because, and we'll talk further about this, but it was just, you could see it was a quick transition into Sable and all about Sable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's, you know, the way it went, but it was good business for WWE, so you can understand why they done that. The one thing I do want to say though is, I understand why they had to go down the whole route of Sable and everything else and what it done for them and stuff, but they could have given a proper Hall of Fame induction, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think it's also, yeah, because it's legacy, and it's just like, all right, so I guess you could just whisper her about her, you know, like, oh, she's in it too. They did that with somebody last year, and I go, this is the Hall of Fame's a joke. No offense, but Coco Beware should not be in there.
No. Big John
Drew Carey is.
Yeah.
Drew Carey's in there though, so that's good.
So is William Shatner. Okay.
Captain to you.
Right.
Captain Kirk to you.
Anyway, let's move on. Next match on the card was Max Mini, Mosaic, and Nova defeated Battalion, El Torino, and Tarantula with a special guest referee in Sonny. What did you think of this one? I really enjoyed this match, you know.
I love Sonny. I think I wrote an article for Wrestle Buddy about her, how she was my favorite valet. Just looking at her, she was such a bitch. But man, she was my bitch because I should rephrase that. She wasn't. She was every wrestling fan's bitch because they loved her, because she looked great and she had a personality other than Sable, you know. Like Sable didn't really have a personality. She sucked on the mic. Sonny let her room. Yeah. I have notes on this match.
Well,
okay.
I'd love to hear them.
Did the first team come out to Depeche Mode? Sonny was a top valet ever. Ross says that when the minis were made, they were stuck on fast forward. I didn't know what that meant. King said Mini walks under closed doors. Battalion is Sergeant Slaughtered. El Torito Papa? Top 5 Lucha Libre match WWF ever had. The picture-in-picture shows Mike Tyson laughing at this match. Sonny is a capable and attractive Aubrey. Looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Did I tell you how much I love Aubrey? Aubrey sucks.
Yeah, we just hate it on this show, which is fine.
Lawler said Max Mini tried to commit suicide by jumping off a curb.
I've got the same thing written down for that.
Evil Uno stole the ref bump. The ref help bump this match. The dubbed over entrance music makes me want to eat at Margarita Cafe. Do you have margaritas by you, Andy?
We do.
Do you have Mexican restaurants by you?
Yes, we've actually got a Taco Bell around the corner from where I live.
Oh, fancy.
It's a drive-through one as well.
Oh, you guys are moving up in the world. And the only thing, this match influenced the indie and AEW staring high spots. That's all I got.
Okay, so I've got on this. When El Torino comes into the ring and chases Sonny around like a bull, that was definitely McMahon sitting there in the back laughing his head off, and he sent him out to do it on purpose. 100%. Max Mini, when he gets picked up by Sonny, starts trying to motorboat where people don't realize.
It's true.
If Sonny just stood up, Max Mini could potentially just walk right between her legs and get lost.
Get lost where? Anyway, this is a family show.
Yeah. Keep it clean. All right, well, we'll move on anyway. But yeah, do you know what? I love this match, and I love the fact that it was just a little bit of fun and stuff like that. I don't understand why they don't do more featured things like this anymore. Because it was quite fun.
Sure, and the crowd was into it because they knew what they were getting, but they enjoyed the hell out of it. And the minis, when they were showcased, they had a good following. I mean, Lawler was he was a pain in the ass to listen to during this pay-per-view sometimes, but you know, when you could channel that out, the minis were actually very entertaining.
Yeah. Okay, though. Well, we'll move on to the next match. We had the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, versus Nation of Domination Rock. Rock. What a match.
What a match.
Okay, my first note on this was it was sad that it was only 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Thought it could have been longer.
Yeah, but I think the whole format of the pay-per-view is weird time-wise too. Not stuff that we're used to even today.
So there was only just to give you a bit of context on that, there was 50 minutes and 34 seconds of actual matches apart from the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, but there's a good reason for that too. And I'll touch upon that later, but still the action was here, and Shamrock was nobody like Shamrock. There's nobody like Shamrock. You could compare him to Kurt Angle. You could compare him to Severn, and you could compare him.
He's done a lot better than Severn, didn't he?
What was with Severn though? Was it injury based?
No, I think it was just based on promo work and overall. He just wasn't very charismatic, was he? He had no charisma, basically.
Yeah, but that's why you have Cornette, though.
I just don't think it worked, did it? Do you know what I mean? He tried to put the NWA championship on him, and I don't think anybody in WWE ever reacted to the NWA.
Well, that's because Russo wanted to make it like an NWO angle, and that's why they had NWA had a champion, and they had Cornette call up the NWA. I forget the suits' names, but they said, "Hey, do you want to have Jeff Jarrett, win the title off Barry Windham on Raw one night?" And they're like, "All right, I guess we'll use the exposure." But they stripped the title off whoever. It was just a terrible work. But
yeah,
and that pursued with the whole NWA angle, which sucked. self-admittedly too.
Yeah, which was right sad.
But you know what? We're talking about Ken Shamrock right now, just so over, so wonderfully. He had a knack for the business too. The facial expressions of him flipping out, The Rock. You want to break down how this ending happened?
Yeah. Oh, mate, do you know what? I texted you, didn't I? And I said to you, I'm not one for screwy finishes, but what an absolute perfect finish this was. So Ken Shamrock hits him with a belly to belly. Didn't like the whole belly to belly thing, I must admit. Felt like he could have done something else to get there, but at the same time, you had to try and make it out like The Rock was. You couldn't have done a submission finisher, so I suppose it works. Hits him with a bat belly to belly, pins him 1, 2, 3, gets the title. He's celebrating with the title. Rocky lies there and goes, points to his shorts. Referee goes over, searches Ken Shamrock and finds a pair of brass knucks that The Rock had put in there earlier in the match. Reverse decision. Rocky's still champion. And Ken Shamrock just goes nuts, doesn't he?
Oh, and this is when it was advertised that he would snap at any time. And boy, did he snap, because he kicked the crap out of Jimmy Cordero. And I'm sorry, Mike Chioda, the ref. Mike Chioda. And this is what lead to a theme of Ken Shamrock. Shamrock would win the title a couple of times off of The Rock, but not in the record books. Nope. And it was just a great way, because you're also elevating The Rock too at the same time as a dastardly heel.
Yeah.
And the Nation of Domination made its presence felt, not too much, but enough to have The Rock get the knucks and use it on Shamrock and then plant it in Shamrock. Yeah. I don't remember a finish like that ever again. Do you?
No. And the thing is, do you know what? You made a good point there. Is like it elevated The Rock, and it elevated Shamrock because it gave him the chance to kind of lose his temper and start going all nuts and throw things around, and you know what I mean. It was the perfect mixture, wasn't for both of them, wasn't it? This finish.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's just going to continue for months down the road. And this isn't, here's the key phrase of the long time storytelling or long term booking. It is long term booking, but it's not the whole long time storytelling. It's booking that's consistent, because you still have the Nation of Domination. You're feeling that dissension there while there's other things going on. It's not just here, put it on the wall. We'll get back to that later, which is just lazy right now. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just that's coincidental booking. Big difference.
Yeah. Did you ever think Ken Shamrock could have been a champion?
I was wondering the same thing while watching this, but I do believe that it all comes down to marketing, and we'll see who the marketer, the person that they market wisely is.
I mean, at the time, it was the right man, wasn't it? But
they could have, but I do believe that. Think about it. You had a maniac like Ultimate Warrior a few years ago. Just come back in and running amok and crazed and whatever. I don't think Vince wanted to rest his laurels on that. And rightfully so.
Difference was, though, Ken Shamrock was a legitimate threat to anybody, wasn't
he? Yeah. But I don't think. But how believable is it to have him lose clean? Then that's how do you get the belt off him?
But the thing is, even if you didn't put him on the belt, you could have put him against Austin at some point, because that would have been a real legitimate threat towards Austin, wouldn't it not?
But did heel Shamrock ever really work? He was with, even when he was in the corporation, he still had other pieces as a heel. And he just didn't stand out as a natural heel. There was almost dissension with him. He didn't look like somebody that wanted to listen to anybody.
After this run was done with WWE, why do you think he never come back?
I think he was probably just making money going back to the MMA, right?
But once he was done with MMA, why do you think WWE didn't say, you know what?
Because he was getting paid to be a fucking bodyguard for people. And not even think about it. He was a hired gun. Last week. We talked about Gene Snitsky. Snitsky was guarding A-Rod. He was getting paid just to walk him into a restaurant. Sorry, but that's a good payday to me.
Yeah. Do you think it was something to do with Shamrock Neville just got hammered in his second UFC run? Do you think that's why Vince was like, no?
Maybe, but Brock Lesnar got his ass kicked for the title. And then all of a sudden he's back, and look at him.
Yeah, and then you've got Cain Velasquez, who battered Brock Lesnar and never got a shot.
Yeah, well, they never hired him back at WWE either.
He's still going though, isn't he? He's in AAA at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I think. I mean, what else can he do?
Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on to our next match. Obviously, this is the starter. As much as we've got Austin here, the Rock's in his infancy. Is Austin's a bit further on, but the Rock will catch him up pretty soon. And we had one of the greatest rivalries in my eyes in wrestling history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we would see this down the road with WrestleMania, and just love it.
Okay, Doug. Right, so the next match on the card, we had Legion of Doom versus the New Age Outlaws. Nice little nostalgia trip here for me.
It's wonderful. Of it? I'm going to point this out too, because we give Michael Cole shit for how he announces. I don't like his announcing style. I think he talks to us like children. And he really dumbs down a viewer. He was so good with backstage and narrating storylines. The way that they do promotional packages for stories is fantastic, with the B-roll and the music behind it. When you watch him talking about the Legion of Doom and the legacy of the Legion of Doom, and then how they're facing the toughest task because this is a dwindling career. They've been established since 1983. You hear it in his voice, the affliction that he has. And I love hearing that. And he does such a good well narrating it that you believe him. Like, time is almost up for LOD. What are they going to do? And this is a constant theme. And this is how WWE is better than AEW until AEW puts money into their production themselves. They will never be on par with WWE because of this. Look at how they recap months and months and actually years of the Legion of Doom. It makes me care. And they'll do this throughout the whole thing. They did it with Rock and Shamrock before. They touched up on it a little bit with Vader and Goldust, or artist formerly known as Goldust. Every match, they just have a recap. It's episodic TV.
And exactly what you've just said then, the reason that, Michael Cole talks like this or does this, exactly what you're saying is the reason why he's been so successful. Because even though me and you are fans that watch week in, week out, Vince and I potentially look at it and go, but when he does this is, the casual fan, which is always what wrestling companies are always after. And, Michael Cole's the be all and end all for the, as you said, the way he talks about it and stuff is appealing to a casual fan because he explains it well.
Yeah. So for people that are brand new, you want somebody to go down the list and, say why we should care or why this is important. And I'll say this, Disco Inferno said it on his talk show. He said, if you were to just play highlights of the Usos and Roman Reigns throughout the past year, it's a good story. You want to know, and that's something that we, Michael Cole, we will say you did a fantastic job with this. So, but this LOD match, and you have the New Age Outlaws. New Age Outlaws are just punks. Billy Gunn looks fantastic. He looks even better today, which is amazing when you think about it. Doesn't he? Yeah. But just capable workers and just dastardly heels too. Handcuffing Hawk to the turnbuckle. Good match. It's just LODs.
And the thing is, I think Vince still was thinking LOD might have something here because obviously he protects them by them winning the match by disqualification.
Yep.
Which tells me he's trying to protect them.
Fuck, bro. You remember, man, you would see kids with the shoulder pads at stands. They sold the foam shoulder pads for years.
I know.
My first event was in 97. I remember them being on sale. And they were around for 15 years at that point.
Can't find them now, though.
Yeah, well, you could, but how much you paying for them?
Telling you. But yeah, with the Legion of Doom, obviously you can think by the way they done this match, you can see why Vince looked after him. He felt a lot about them, but then also you look at the times he attempted the LOD 2000 and all that stuff. He constantly wanted them to do well, didn't he? And he constantly gave them that platform to try.
In his eyes, there might have been somebody that was always better, which is weird for a tag team, or maybe it just fit for a better story. Like the New Age Outlaws later on. I believe we'll probably we should do it for ourselves, go into WrestleMania 98 when that season comes. We will talk about LOD 2000 coming out, and we'll talk a little bit. Everything coincides. Isn't it wonderful, Andy? It's just wonderful how that happens.
Okay, though. Well, let's get
them.
on to the main event. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, that's it. I'll tell you, it's just we're going to it's not the main event, and that's what threw us off.
Well, it's not the main event, but it is the main event to me. It always will be. The Royal Rumble match itself.
Okay. Yeah, this is what, and this never really happened, folks, where you'd have the actual, I think it happened maybe in 95. But you would have, the 95 Royal Rumble, I believe, where you'd have the Royal Rumble match and then the championship match afterwards. So we're booking it. So take it away, because I think you're already in there. Andy, you look like you're part of Los Boricuas. So
the start of this match, I've got notes here. I just loved it. The fact that it was so 1998, the way it was Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charlie 1 and 2. They decided to turn it into a bit of a hardcore match.
Yeah. And that, I think they took the chain off the chainsaw, but I think at one point you saw sparks when they actually, when Cactus threw the chair in there. I go, these guys are fucking nuts.
Yeah. And, do you know one thing I did love here as well is the fact that when before this match, they had the different kinds of factions all running around trying to find Austin, and it was brilliant. It was so good the way they done it throughout the show.
Again, and that takes you back episodic TV throughout the whole night. There's a bounty on Steve Austin's head. He gives the keys to Michael Cole to park his car, which is funny. And then all of a sudden, Southern Justice, which is Phineas Godwin and Henry Godwin, come out and they say, "Where is he? Where is he?" They just missed him. And throughout the whole episode, even your boys in Los Boricuas. I mean, was that awkward when you went into the wrong room to get Austin?
Yeah. We might find them next time. But one thing I noticed here, I mean, I loved the fact of every time the buzzer went off and people all stopped and looked, is it him? Is it him? It was perfect the way he's done this, absolutely perfect. And then when Austin finally comes into the match and they all spin round to the front area and he comes in the back way, it's simple but so effective.
Yeah, hits marrow right away. Yeah. Loved it. Actually, you know what? Let's go into the list. Let's break it down.
Dogs. So top 10, again, looks like WWE are doing what they always do and place a couple of strong people within each top 10. So number 1, Cactus Jack. 2, Chainsaw Charlie. Number 3, Tom Brandy. The Rock, number 4. 5, Mosh. 6, Phineas Goodwin. 7, 8 Ball. Future Hall of Famer and world champion Blackjack Bradshaw at number 8.
Oh boy.
Number 9, Owen Hart, and number 10, Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman was a baller, an absolute baller. Oh, I loved him.
Yeah, he's I'd say a show favorite. One day we got to come out with the top 10 favorites on the show. I think we already know who number 1 is just because of our obsession. But let's just say here, I noticed what was really funny about this is when it was go time. So Terry Funk, I'm sorry, Chainsaw Charlie, would pull up his stockings. And then when Tom Brandy comes in, he pulls it down just to beat the crap out of him. But he did this at least 4 or 5 times throughout the match. So funny.
And then our second 10, we had D'Lo Brown at number 11, Kagan, 12, 13, Mark Merrow, 14, Ken Shamrock, 15, Thrasher, 16 for the double Mankind, 17, Goldust, 18, Jeff Jarrett, 19, the Honky Tonk Man, and 20, Ahmed Johnson.
That is the #1 Intercontinental Champion, baby. I heard that he had his long sideburns and his hair slicked back, and I think he's coming to your town in his pink Cadillac.
Do you know, I was only, it was only 10 months ago, or maybe less actually. It might have been late last August. I found out who Peggy Sue was, and I was just flabbergasted by it.
Oh, go ahead. What the fuck? I knew this.
Go on.
I don't. I'm trying to figure it out. I just
Sensational Sherry.
That's yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Who come out to the car? Yeah, she was in a wig. Yeah.
Never knew it. Never knew it.
She was sensational. By the way, we didn't talk about it before. Owen Hart got jumped by Jeff Jarrett and he went to go run back, and it was just a whole thing because you had the Black Heart gimmick, which should have stuck, but somebody had to think that he should come from the sky and do something. A lot of double duty here. Kurgan came in, and Kurgan's had a very successful run as a movie star too.
Yeah.
So and admittedly, apparently he's one of the nicest guys. Stiff working, but he was massive. He was a scary looking guy.
Yeah.
He was just scary looking.
That's it.
Who in this list stood out for you?
So Honky Tonk, obviously, because it's just that nostalgia boost, isn't it? Jeff Jarrett, obviously, I always liked Jeff. Ken Shamrock. Mark Mero, I thought Mark Mero was awesome. It was always sad to me that Mark Mero never got to bring over the Wildman character with him. Do you know, the Johnny B. Bad? Because I think if he would have had that character, he would have been champion at some point.
They say he was trained as Johnny B. Bad, not a wrestler. And that's why it never took off with him. By the way, he's one of the most phenomenal people in the world.
Yeah. I watch all his videos. I watch his videos online and stuff like that. He's such an inspirational guy.
Yep. He makes you give a damn.
Yeah.
I tell my wife to actually, maybe he should go to the school that she works at, just to speak, because I'd take off to listen to that.
Yeah.
But not for vanity, just for the fact that he is, we endorse it.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah. And Ahmed Johnson, he looked apart, but he was shite, wasn't he?
They talk so much shit throughout this match. You heard JR when he came out, he goes, there's Ahmed Johnson. He's the first person to ever come to the ring in the Royal Rumble with earrings on. Let's see how that works out for him. They had enough. Yeah. They had enough of him at this point.
Yeah.
I think they knew, get the hell out of here. Even the way he came in, and nobody cared. No. Phineas Godwin staring at him, and even going for a jobber to go back and he's beating up Phineas Godwin on the way out. It's like you're still trying to make this all about you.
Yeah.
What a joke.
It wasn't Phineas Godwin, it was Skull, wasn't it?
No, Phineas Godwin.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It was outside, and they were fighting their way through the entrance, and Phineas is probably the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Midian.
That's it. And what was the other one? What else was he called when he was part of the was with Jeff Jarrett he was with?
Southern Justice, but he was
Southern Justice, yeah. Awesome. So 21 to 30, we had 21 Mark Henry, 22 Skull, 23 Carmen Mustafa, 24 the man himself, Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin. There he is. 25.
That's him evading you. He did good. He just, I don't know.
Where is he? Where is he?
Did he duck you? Yeah, he's coming for you, Andy.
Henry Godwin was 25. Savio Vega, 26. 27 Farouk, 28 Dude Love, 29 Chains, and number 30 Vader.
Double duty, right?
You know who looks out on this list for me straight away? Savio Vega. Do you know back when 1994 time, when he was in the King of the Ring against Bret Hart and stuff like that? I loved Savio Vega. I thought he was great.
Yeah. He was a Razor's boy, right?
Yeah, not so much now, but back 94, 95, I was really into him. I thought he was really good. I really liked him.
He should have continued with Quang.
Yeah. And one thing I've got on my notes here as well was finally they found a home for Mark Henry.
Yep. Yeah.
Because this was the turning point, as much as there's a lot of things on this card, isn't there? You've got The Rock, obviously, with the Nation East starting to make his mark. the three faces of Foley. Mankind's making his mark a little bit now. He's starting to get somewhere. Austin's obviously away to the races.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mark Henry here, because Mark had been signed to a multi-year contract, hadn't he? Because he was a good athlete. And they tried the whole Olympian gimmick. They tried the different bits and bobs. And obviously they wanted to keep his own name because of the market value that I had back in that time. But until he found the Nation of Domination, he hadn't settled, has he? But like The Rock, really, when Rock had the Maivia character, I think Rock and Mark Henry are pretty similar in the fact is pre-Nation of Domination, they were kind of just floundering a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah. Look, the Nation of Domination did a lot. I mean, even for a guy like Owen, Owen aligned himself with them and was the Black Heart. And, you know, it was kind of an outlier there because of, well, let's face it. But, you know, the Nation of Domination, you know, was 5 of the entrants out of the 30 here. So a pretty strong percentage. And then you add in Mick Foley was there 3 times. So there's 8 people right there in the Royal Rumble, you know, but you got to give it to The Rock in here because The Rock came in and actually went a little bit hardcore with them, you know, with Terry Funk and Mankind at that, Cactus Jack at that point. Just, it's not the greatest of lists, but I appreciated who came in. Like DOA sucked. I liked the fact that after Austin came in legally, Henry Godwinn came to the ring, and even Jim Ross was trying to put over the fact like this guy is aiming for Austin, making you realize that Godwinn was a big, massive dude.
Yeah.
You know,
and that was the thing, wasn't it? Even the mid card here was always put over as a credible threat to anybody. You know what I mean? Which we'll discuss a bit further in a minute as well. So Austin gets the win, obviously. Mike Tyson's ecstatic.
Yeah, he loves that cold. He loves that Cold Stone one.
Yeah. And we're off to the races, ready for WrestleMania for Austin. Now, the reason why I say that the Royal Rumble match should go last, and I'm going to talk about this in a bit more detail in a minute, but obviously the crowd just erupts when Austin wins it, and that should be your feel-good go-home moment. That should be the end of the show, but it's not.
Because
obviously,
they don't want it to feel good when you end, do they?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Sometimes you will get, I mean, maybe they just didn't want it to be that much of a feel-good moment because of the fact that they wanted the WrestleMania one to be the one, didn't they? But, you know, there's no denying that.
I'm talking about for tonight. They cannot do what they ended up doing as something before the Royal Rumble.
But the thing is, what I will say is, yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, what you're saying with the fire and stuff. But
you gave it away. You got to do these spoiler alerts, man. We're 23 years past, but there's people that still don't know.
But one thing I will say is the testament to this match is back in this time, one thing WWE was so good at was having storylines, and them storylines were still relevant as they cross over with each other. So obviously on this one we had Michaels, the champion. Obviously, you know, Austin would go on to hunt him down, but he had all his issues with the commissioner, bloody Sergeant Slaughter and whatnot, which was all cool, and China Triple H was there. And on the flip side of it, The Undertaker has had problems since their last meeting of Bad Blood with the whole Kane situation and Kane coming into it. So there's some good stories here and it all combines together. But one thing that I will say with the two of these, to follow Austin winning the Rumble and still keep the crowd engaged the way that he did is a testament to both performers, but it's also a testament to the storylines that WWE were running back then, that you could keep somebody engaged that long.
The week prior, Kane came out to save The Undertaker. Okay. And at this point, you never thought of this happening. You never thought this was going to happen because of the feud that was a blood feud, and maybe Kane has a heart after all.
Yeah.
This match is going on, and we'll get to one particular spot in it in a second that changed the course of history, if you think about it. But The Undertaker is The Undertaker. We talked last week how one of his worst matches was against John Heidenreich in a casket. Now, coincidentally, we do another casket match, right? We just pick out a random year. Yeah, one of his best. It was fantastic. My wife doesn't watch. It's advertised. Okay. Does Lauren watch?
Now and again, bits and bobs.
So she sat down because there's nothing going on. Like I'm feeding Logan, whatever. And, she knows we're researching because we're researchers. I'm not going to say we're historians, but we're researchers. So she's watching. She goes, who's that? Who is that? I go, what are you talking about? She goes, I'm like, oh, that's my favorite. That's Shawn Michaels. I loved him. He was a prick back in the day. So I'm telling him, why is he a prick? Blah, blah, blah. So, I'm going on and self-admittedly that he's a prick. Well, who's that? I go, oh, that's Triple H. No, the other one. Who's that guy? I said, that's China. She goes, what? I said, no, I said, that's China. And she goes, oh. I go, yeah, there's been a lot of happening since then. So she's watching. And then I pointed out, because I go, when you said, let's do this pay-per-view, I said, oh, shoot. I'm like, watch this. I'm like, tell me what happens. And here it is. Backdrop over the top rope onto Michaels. Michaels hits the casket very gently. You can't tell. Could you tell?
No.
No. Ruins his whole back. She says, that took him out. I go, yep. She goes, why doesn't he stop the match? I said, because he was a performer. Say what you want. Shawn Michaels was a performer. And it was just fantastic. Because he went on, the match went on and on and on for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't know that the extent of the injury, obviously.
20 minutes, 30 seconds was the whole match.
That happened, in the first 5?
Yeah, it did.
Yep. Changed his life forever. Yeah.
It
changed
did,
the course of wrestling.
Well, of course it did, but this was a great main event to go for the Royal Rumble. Obviously, with these two, they go down different paths in WrestleMania, but obviously Shawn Michaels gets the win after Kane interference, which then, he sets fire to the casket, open it up, Undertaker's not there, but then it starts all the supernatural stuff for the Undertaker to return. But I remember as a kid when he finally said, I'm going to, because he was always of the mindset, wasn't he, that I'll never fight my brother, I'll never do this. And when they finally done it, I was like, oh, yeah, and it was just like, it never meant as much as the Austin going for the belt against Michaels, but it did mean a lot at the time, and that was what they were good at this time, is making matches that people wanted and they wanted to see, but also not giving you it too soon.
Yeah, and since we're going to probably do WrestleMania 98, I'm not going to get too into it verbatim, but the promo leading up to Undertaker proposing the match at WrestleMania 98 was probably the coolest thing in wrestling. On Raw. It was just fantastic.
It really was.
But yeah, so we watched.
And let's remember, folks, back then, WrestleMania wasn't the spectacle it is today either.
Correct.
In terms, and what I mean by that is in terms of stadiums and all the rest of it, it was, the matches were the main thing for the main draw. Yeah.
Look at Starrcade though, back in the day. Like Starrcade, here it is. I mean, what do they have? Like an apron?
Yeah.
Like you have that same type of setup in your house right now. You can create that and emulate that. Back then, it was just like, oh, look at the King of the Ring banner. That's cool. You didn't have these amazing stages. People walked out, their platform was this much taller off the ground. But, the whole thing is it isn't the spectacle, but maybe that's why it's near and dear to us, because it was more grounded level. Besides the fact that somebody got lit on fire and then an axe. Why did you take an axe to it and then light it on fire?
No, I don't know.
I tried to explain that to my wife because she couldn't believe what was going on. And I said, 13-year-old Dale loved this.
13-year-old Andy loved it. But anyway, that was the Royal Rumble 1998. Dale, what would you give it out of 5, mate?
Shoot, man. Nostalgia alone. I'm probably... I'll tell you why. I'm probably going to give it a 9
out of 5.
Out of 5. Yeah, we're doing out of 5s now. So fine, 4.5.
A 4.5. I'll agree with you on that one, mate. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I just and it will be high spots on it.
I can't really knock it. Do you know what? There's no way I can even. I'm going to give it a 5 because there's nothing I can pick apart on this. that I didn't like.
I will give it a 4.5 because I wanted to see maybe a couple more guest entrants,
Okay.
surprises, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But I will say this doesn't mean I did not have a smile watching the whole thing.
Yeah, that was awesome, wasn't it? Well, guys, thanks for watching again, as always. And make sure that you do, as I say, give us some comments on the videos, interact with us on social media. If there's a certain Pacific pay-per-view or something you want us to watch that coincides with the month that we're in, because that's obviously what we do. It's our themes, is we do. Obviously January now means Royal Rumble season, and we'll move on to February, which I'm sure we'll probably go into the Attitude Era again for, because I'm not really happy to do fast lanes, but
no, unless we take a look at a card and say, all right, maybe. But actually, I think it's even better not even looking at cards and just picking out random ones. You did the great one of the 99 Armageddon.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know who picked it, but we just randomly picked one for December, and that we couldn't believe how good it was.
Yeah, that's it. And that's where, maybe at the time with these B-type pay-per-views before we won't. But I say, guys, if there's anything suggestion-wise, make sure you give us some suggestions and let us know. But anyway, from me and Dale, until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that lovely thumbs up button for us and hit the subscribe button. We're doing really, really well. And, one thing that I'm sort of noticing from the YouTube stuff is we're getting a lot of extra people coming back and watching us now, which is good because, we seem to be building an audience, so we want to hear from you. We want to speak to you. That's what we want. Also, if you're listening to this on iTunes and stuff like that, thank you so much. We've just hit over 100 and odd listens on there, so really, really pleased with that. So thank you very much for the support. But from me and Dale, until next time, take care, guys. We will see you again next time, same place, same time next week. Bye now.